hey, it's bossa nova stuff. That sounds like jazzy. It's a good morning thing. I don't know, I feel spring in the air. Do you feel spring in the air? Looking outside right now, it's like, oh, sorry for the loud there. I'm like looking outside and I'm looking at the trees and the cars and the arsenic in the park. I live across from a park that they just uncovered like a half acre of arsenic because there used to be an arsenic factory nearby. Like, oh my god, it's so great to live in the south of the United States. And there's like people with thyroid cancer losing their thyroids like at an unusually high rate on Lake Norman. Tom might remember that. Oh, Tom left. Let's do a little coffee talk here. It's 11:30. 11:30, time for coffee talk. And I'm going to go ahead and... Actually, I'll mark the end of the video. We'll be good there. Anyway. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. So, we have a lot to get through in coffee talk today. I'm going to, as usual, the way I do coffee talk is I just go back through my Twitter and then I make sure to curate anything that's useful from a number of alerts that come to my Google search alerts. If you don't know what those are, it's like one of the... I wish I didn't have to sell out to Google for that. I wish somebody would make a service that lets you say I want to follow these things and it's just a big old web crawler and there's no privacy violations. Somebody needs to make that. Someone make that. Get on it. That would be really awesome. In fact, you could write that in Go and it would probably not even be that hard. Just have to parse every page, make your own spider, and then make it so it's just about alerts, customized alerts. And make it so that it searches news groups too. Make it so it searches everything. It's like you're a virtual agent out there searching for all kinds of stuff. Nobody's made one. Someone make it. You can even make it so that it like searches, like videos with transcriptions and stuff, right? Imagine that. Imagine if you had like one search alert system to rule them all. There's no value proposition there short of selling everybody's data, so that's never going to happen. Because you'd have to make it, and then you'd have to say, okay, I'm going to pay $5 per alert. I would pay that. I'd say, how about this? How about $2 per alert? I mean, there's a solid business plan there. I'm going to put that in the coffee talk so somebody maybe make it. Again, make a virtual search alert system that doesn't have any privacy tracking, that allows you to log in anonymously, essentially, and it allows you to get emails that have the search results for everything from the whole internet on a certain topic. And then like take Google out in their own game. Like, don't be afraid of that big ugly monster. Google, we're going to get you. We're coming for you. All right, so let's do the Twitter is how I've been doing this. So the first major thing, this was actually I didn't get any coding done this morning because we got kind of sidetracked during live coding this morning because we got sidetracked analyzing something called SourceSet. And I've talked about SourceSet before. It turns out I was the only person on all of YouTube to talk about SourceSet. This is a search I did for SourceSet, and I was the first and only hit. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. So I thought I'd talk about him a little bit. I'm a little leery because the people at SourceSet seem like fantastic guys and gals, and I don't want them to take what I have to say too negatively, but I do have some reasons ultimately that I can't recommend anybody using it seriously. Certainly a fun thing to play around with for now, but that's my conclusion. So let's talk about that, why. And I want to go through that really quickly because even though I have 90 minutes for coffee talk today, there's a lot of stuff to go through. I'm going to be talking really quickly. I apologize for that. If you need to slow me down on YouTube, you can do that. If you're an international person, I've had people from, I think, Brazil ask me to talk slower, and no, I'm going to talk really fast. Hopefully you'll be able to understand, but you can slow me down if you need to, because it's faster than writing. I don't have the time to do that. All right, so here's SourceSet. This is SourceSet's analysis on OpenHub, which is a thing I just found about, which is going to come up next. So OpenHub is apparently a place you can go. I do not have an account. I found out about it today, thanks to M on the stream. It's where you can go get an analysis that's much more detailed about open source projects. This is far, far more detailed than anything you'd ever get on GitHub or GitLab. So I really am glad to have found this. So indirectly, so OpenHub is a thing. Go check it out. Maybe get an account, but you can also go there and you can see how certain projects are broken down and what they are about. And I'm kind of jumping to conclusion on this to the reasons behind my conclusion for not using this. If you look at and this is in my Twitter feed. So this is the breakdown of the source code that they're using right now. And even though I'll show you the developers, Derek and the principal engineers. I forget the other guy's name. I'll pull it up in a second. Fantastic. They sound like fantastic guys. And they talk about C and Go in their profile, which I was really excited about because not once do they mention Python at all. They mentioned web development, but they didn't mention Python. And you guys know me. If you know my position on Python, I'll make a video on it. But ultimately, I'm not a Python guy anymore. I was for 5 to 10 years, but now I believe Python is totally dead and nobody should use it other than maybe these edge cases of TensorFlow, but Flask, hell no. And so this is really ultimately, I'm starting with my conclusion. SourceHead is built entirely on Python Flask. Now it has some really awesome things with containers, and I'll go into the advantages later, but the architecture right now is not going to withstand, it's already buckling under 10,000 users. They have 12,000 in their blog according to the last blog they made, and they're adding users at a rate of about 400 or 500 a month, which is cool. And they have their financials out there too. They've got a ways to go. So why do you care? You care because if you're going to think about putting all of your source code over here on SourceHead, you want to know, number one, is it going to be around later? Number two, is the performance going to be okay? And from the last 2 posts on SourceHead, it's pretty obvious that they're having trouble. So, and they threw some more hardware at it, which concerns me. Here's the last one. So this one is their new features. But the blog post that really caught my attention was the one right before that. And this is January 15th, so this is relatively new. And it says here, we're going to FOSDEM, which is cool. One of these days, maybe I'll actually go. They added a new channel, so that's cool. I mean, it's just a really awesome community. And let's see here. We're working more on instrumentation. This paragraph is probably the biggest red flag of everything I did in the research. And I spent about an hour and a half researching it today. And the reason this alarms me is because it says that they finally were able to get the money, that means to pay for the parts to get a new server hardware, to add higher performance system to manage the thing. Well, the reason they're having performance problems very clearly is because of the architecture they've picked for the applications. Can you imagine running 10 million users on Python Flask? Probably not. And if you don't know why, do some research on your own. That's a bad decision. Python Flask for 10 million. Now, Python's great for prototyping and getting the idea out, and I love that. And maybe that's what they're doing because this is alpha. They've said it's alpha over and over again. So, if anything, maybe they'll come across this video and they'll say, we might want to think about on the roadmap, on our architectural roadmap, what happens when we have 1 million users. I think GitLab last I checked was 800,000. That was last year. I bet they're probably over 1 million by now. So GitLab has over 1 million users, and they still have, every once in a while, they have performance issues. GitHub still has performance issues, and they're 10 million users. They've had to, I don't know all the details, but I believe that they ripped out the guts. I think it was all Ruby on Rails originally, and now they've got some Erlang on the back end and some really high performance stuff that they had to add in to support that volume. And so if you want to support a great group of people who have great goals, then this is the guys. And so I actually started with the bad news first so that I can end on the good news, because I really, really like what they're doing. I mean, everything about their organization, their focus on absolutely free software, not open source software, free software. And so, in fact, we were talking today, and it's almost like you have, I believe you have like kind of like three providers now. You have like the tiny little Source Hut here, who is really great for free software freaks who just really want someplace to store their code and have lots of great whiz bang things, but don't really care about a user experience, a UI that's decent or much like that. So this was Source Hut seems to be tailored for. And then you have the GitLab, right, which is open source, which means you can use it as a company thing and not have to worry about entanglements and all that jazz. And they have a really, really big following. They have a really awesome UI built mostly in Vue and some React in there too, but then they have lots of Go on the back end. And you can run GitLab, in your own place too. You can run Source Hut and you can run GitLab in your place or at your school or whatever. And then you have GitHub, the big original one that did this. It's largely built by web developers originally, and then grew into this monster monolithic thing. And the back end technical debt architecture pretty much represents that. It's going to be virtually impossible for them to overcome that technical debt over time, because they have how many, I would say approaching 1 billion repos at this point. I mean, they have 10 million users. So if each of those users has 100 repos, 100 or 1,000 repos, they're approaching 1 billion. That they're not going to be able to change that architecture. I mean, not anytime soon. They're going to have to slowly swap pieces out, and we will never know because it's all entirely closed and they don't talk about any of it. GitLab, on the other hand, talks about everything, and Source Hut talks about everything. So this is one of the reasons I have another video on choose GitLab, and I stand by that conclusion. I mentioned Source Hut in there. I stand by that conclusion that that's the best source, and I'm spending a lot of time, if you want to watch my live coding, writing a GraphQL API, which, by the way, Source Hut does not have. Source Hut has a kind of a thrown together quickly API. It says powerful APIs. By the way, that's another thing that concerns me. There's a little bit of marketing speak going on Source Hut's page, and whenever I see that, like alarm bells go off, So just thought of something. Does Source Hut have issues? That's a pretty huge deal for collaboration on a project. I believe they do, but we didn't find them. So that's a good question. I don't know. We'll have to look further for that. I mean, the whole point of hosting your code in something besides your own, like Git locally or your own GitHub repos without even putting them on a source provider, a host provider, is because you want to be able to collaborate. You want to be able to have people enter issues. You want to be able to have a wiki. And by the way, their wiki is cool. It is Markdown. You can use Markdown instead of wiki text, but you can use Common Mark, but it's all used in Python, so it doesn't have any possibility of ever putting Pandoc as the wiki platform. I am praying that somebody, someplace, somewhere will eventually add simplified Pandoc support for Markdown rendering in a system, and so far I'm not seeing it. So their biggest value proposition is that and I actually blogged about this. Let me go grab it here. So their biggest value proposition is, they're obsessed with the free software way. They don't even have a Twitter account, as far as I can tell. I mean, it's probably have a Mastodon account. They are really, really, really free software people. They're not, interested in what other people think. They have great principal engineers with C and Go. They are young. So I have a feeling they haven't thought about issues like, what are we going to do when we hit 1 million users? This blog post, as I mentioned, concerned me quite a bit, because it says, if I can find it again, I think I left it. Where is it? Dispatch. No. The blog post says that they're throwing more hardware at it. And that's not that scares me, because if they're throwing more hardware at the problem instead of addressing the problem in the source, and maybe considering that they're running down the wrong path here with Flask, that's serious reason for me to be scared of it. 64% of Python Flask implementation to go. I haven't seen anything in the blogs indicating any direction that they're planning on moving away from Python, and until I do, I'm not even gonna think about it. because they will never be able to withstand the growth of a larger hosting provider, and maybe they don't want to be. Maybe they want to be small, and they want to stay small, but they're already having performance issues. So why do you care? All right, it's really great to have a system that you can log into, and you can do an SSH and do continuous integration and host your Berkeley, your BSD stuff on. These are all great things, but if you can't get to it, what's the point? If the performance is so bad that you're like lagging out when you're doing your clones, and by the way, I'm cloning all the time and committing all the time. If there's even a bit of lag, I notice it on GitLab or GitHub. And by the way, GitHub regularly beats GitLab in commit time performance for me, just from my I haven't done anything scientific, but from my personal watching of the thing, that's kind of where we're going with this. So yeah, let's just be concerned about that and just think about what would I actually be using this for. And so yeah. So anyway, that's all I want to say about that. I actually wish them the very best. They're a fantastic group of guys, and they're fantastic engineers who have there's another little tiny quirk that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I went to go look at one of their, they did mention in the blog, Drew mentioned that they had patched somebody who submitted a Lynx, because they kind of present themselves as like, the cool host repository for, terminal kind of people like us, like me. And so, but then, if you actually go look at the repo, let me see if I can find one. So here, this kind of caught me off guard. So let's see, sr.ht. They got a really great URL. Oh wow, that went all the way to that. No, I want to, let's see, go to sr.ht. There we go. Meta. I don't know why they make you go through this process too. It's kind of weird. They send you to your profile page. Where is the, I think this is just my side. The other thing, the UI, we lost a lot of time this morning trying to figure their UI out. We could not find our way. And I'm having that problem right now. So I just want to go to a thing, actually, if I search for, I wonder if there's any, I'm really grasping here. Okay, so their main stuff is on git dot blah blah blah. So here we go. So this looks like Drew's, who's like one of the principal developer creators, one of his things. And this is how we found out. This is how I originally found out. He has a dot files too. That's kind of interesting. Some things in there. I mean, like that seems kind of mean to slam on a guy's dot files directory. But when I saw all the stuff in his bin directory, I was like, okay, that's cute. See, look at here. This is what I was trying to show you. So you've got this. I mean, it looks like an LS output, right? It's not particularly readable. It's kind of cool and everything, but this is just. I mean, it's a little tiny pet peeve. But I was like, okay, let's see what this looks like in Lynx. I'm sure, for sure, their whole site has no JavaScript on it. It's going to be beautiful, and just no. No, just no. You see this? Like, really? You're going to make it look like LS output, and you're going to like jam it all together. And actually, you know why they did that? And this is when I started getting a little bit more concerned. Look at this div soup. And this is, I was like, and we were trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. We're like, I guess we could, send a pull request or fix it or something like that. But the fact that somebody created this div soup instead of making a proper table, which would have been semantic and it would have showed up in Lynx perfectly, means that they haven't even practiced using their site with a text-based browser such as Lynx. And so their whole shtick is that they're like, for hackers and that they're showing LS and everything. And yet their entire site looks like shit in Lynx. So pardon the swear word, but I was laughing at that. I mean, I was laughing at that because I was like, here we go. Here we've got, div soup all over the place. They don't even know how to use semantic tables, or they chose not to, one of the two, right? I mean, the whole thing with the tilde, that's very retro. That goes back to multi-user Linux and Unix systems. So it's almost like, and God, pardon me for sounding really mean here, but it's almost like some young guys are trying to make a retro thing that have never experienced the actual retro thing. They've never actually used it, because if they did, they would have seen it. I mean, it was like a big deal for him to say that he addressed somebody who opened a ticket to fix it for Lynx, and I agree. It's like really awesome. Terminal browser users are a minority, to be fair. Terminal browser users are a ridiculously small minority. Okay, my problem is that their whole site is appealing to terminal browser users. So if they're going to appeal to we have no JavaScript. I mean, that's you want to make a Lynx user happy, put those words on the main page. If you put a blog post saying, hey, I just put a commit in to make it look good in Lynx, and if your whole UI is to make it look like an LS command, then I mean, GitLab would never do that. GitLab's like, no, we're using Vue here. We're gonna like make it a pretty UI, and we're gonna think about UX. So I just, that thing to me was a little funny. It was just funny because it's like, I mean, they even tell you the bytes over here, how big it is. I mean, it's exactly like an LS output. I love their design, idea. I like their idea of it, but I just, it fails when it does that in links and they use divs. So that's kind of a problem. Hey, Bluetooth. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I applaud their project to the point where I'm almost willing to start paying them and having them maybe make a move forward. But I'm just going to say right now, I am not going to commit money or time to SourceHut until I see something on paper that says they are moving away from Python Flask as their core architecture. If they have Go skills. I obviously have Go skills. This is a Go Rust application all the way. And if they were to, in fact, I was just kind of excited because they had Go in their profiles. I was like, oh my God, somebody's making a brand new source, hosting service that's based on Go or Rust. And I was like, oh, that's phenomenally awesome. And they were so, edgy and hackery. I thought for sure that that's what they would have been doing, but no, they're using like Python Flask. So, I mean, until I see some indicator that there's at least a plan in place for them to migrate off of their existing massive technical debt that they have on Python, I'm not interested in them, and I don't think you should be interested in them either. I wish them well. I wouldn't be putting a video out with their name in it like this. And if they happen to, I'm not going to name this video after them. This is just coffee talk. But if they happen to find it, I don't want them to think that I have anything but positive feelings for them. I think they're doing a great job in every other way. But I think their core architecture is seriously flawed. And throwing more hardware at is not going to fix that. All right. So why do you care? If you're trying to look for a source provider that has SSH and a better container system and it's cooler, you might be tempted to use SourceHut, and I would tell you that would be a bad decision at this point, unless you want to just play around with it and you don't particularly care about performance or long-term sustainability. If you want to promote them, eventually do this. And another team that has just migrated off is CView. So CView, which is the number one, and I'm going to cover this really quick. So CView is on GitLab. This is actually how I found out about them. CView is a continuation of the TView project, which the maintainer has publicly said he is no longer going to even accept change requests on because it takes too much time, to use his words. And so what they have done is they have so the CView team. Oh, I'm searching in the wrong place here. Sorry for that. That's what happens when I try to talk and type. CView. So if you are a Go programmer, you should know about CView. CView is the coolest terminal user interface I have ever seen. And two of my guys here have been working on it here, and they're like, they cannot stop talking during the middle of the session. This is so cool. This is so cool. I mean, it uses flex blocks and grid and stuff like that for a terminal UI. So you can take all of your knowledge from CSS and apply it to your terminal UI layout, which is just really, really, really cool. But why do you care about CView? CView is the fork of the TView project, which was forked in order to continue making contributions to it because the TView guys said, "No, I'm done." And the reason this relates to SourceHut is because they have a change request in here that says finish migration to GitLab. And I was like, really? Well, what were they on before? There it is, migrate to GitLab. And when I saw migrate to GitLab, I was like, that's interesting. And so I looked back. That's when I found out they were on SourceHut before. I didn't know about it. Studied SourceHut. Came back to SourceHut this week again and studied it again. Somebody was asking me if they should put their stuff there. And my answer is now no. And then it also motivated me to go back to GitLab because this really great team on CView, good job guys, by the way. You guys rock. I want to be worthy of contributing to your project at some point. But the CView project chose to go with GitLab despite, discoverability and all of the other, perceived advantages of GitHub, which I've spoken about in another video called Choose GitLab. And so this was really the final thing that I saw that convinced me to go back to GitLab, having had a moment of insanity in January where I switched off of GitLab, put everything back on GitHub out of some sense of misguided fear that nobody would find my libraries or they wouldn't choose to use them if they were on GitLab. It's stupid. I don't know why I ever thought that. So, So this team is confirming that. So, but it's worth noting that when they became a legit, project, and that they wanted to have people like import their packages, which is a big deal if it moves, right? They chose to move from SourceHut to GitLab. Whatever that reason, I can guess what the reasons are now, and that I've studied them, but it's significant to make note of that. All right, so enough on that. Let's go back to see what's next on the Twitter list. I'm gonna take a drink of coffee. What kind of music is this? We got some like Brazilian coffee music going on. I'm liking it. I'm kind of liking it. It's getting kind of noisy here. It is the morning after all. I hope that doesn't get me like demonetized, but I don't care because I don't monetize anyway. So I just don't want to strike. Those things suck. What's next? So OpenHub. I told you about OpenHub. OpenHub is a place to go and study about open source software that's out there. I did not know about that till this week, so that's kind of fun. Lots of stuff to cover here. Lots of negativity. I'm going to zoom in so you guys can read this, and then I'll just read the Twitter that I did. Again, the reason I'm going through my Twitter is because as I curate and find things in my email or on the chat, or somebody tells me about them in Discord, I like filter out the ones I feel like are the most important to know for the day, and then I tweet them. So if you want to get all of these and you don't have time to listen for an hour of coffee talk, go just run down and follow me on Twitter, and it's largely curated news content in there. So I'm doing better about just keeping it serious and not about politics and stuff. In the past, I've been known to go off on that particular account too, but I'm not doing that as much anymore. So this is the school. They look like a really great school. They have their 50th anniversary. They've got a really great WordPress site. How much does it cost? Blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Maybe these guys have tuition and fees. There we go. So I feel better now because their tuition is much easier to find. And, there's been great people who have gone here, and I really love hearing about some of their teachers that are over there, what they're doing. But I got to tell you, I was really taken aback by... Okay, so first of all, their prices. So they're $21,000 per year. $24,000 at the top. So if you're paying $24,000 a year for a kid to go to a private school, which is $2,000 a month, all right. So, roughly that, right? That is scary. If you're paying $2,000 a month to go to school, and to be fair, the kids are at the school for 8 hours a day, so it doesn't work out to be that much more. You know what I mean? If you did it per day, I could probably bring it down. It's probably around, $10-20 an hour or something. I don't know. I can't do the math in my head right now. But my point is, you're still paying a lot of money, right? So if for a school of this substance and private, thing to go down for a full week because it doesn't have Wi-Fi, and because all of their curriculum is based on Wi-Fi, is a problem. So why do you care? You care because our public school and our private school systems are still suffering from the same problem. They are building curriculum that is 100% dependent on the internet. And that's fine if you are Finland or someplace like that has like ridiculously good internet access everywhere. But if you are an institution, they're going to nick you down for books and stuff. Yeah. So these private schools, they come up with this idea of a prestigious thing, right? And so the reason I had to pull, to throw them under the bus a little bit and say, hey, you're probably the most prestigious private school in our area, and you can't keep your internet up for a week. And in fact, not only can you not keep your internet up, you had to close down your classes because the classes didn't have anything to do. And one person reported that there all of a sudden a million, like not a million, but a bunch of like Wi-Fi hotspots popped up immediately. because all these kids are bored and they're like getting on the internet on their own and saying, "Do you have a hotspot?" And they were like, which is kind of a testament to, ingenuity, because all these kids are figuring out how to do stuff anyway. They're like, "Oh, you don't have internet? Your school can't do the internet? We got it right. We got it right here." So, and that story, why do you care about that story? Because that story illustrates the nature of institutionalized education right now, and its lack of ability to deliver on simple things. Like, the biggest STEM school in probably all the United States, the private boarding school, the North Carolina School of Science and Technology and Math, told one of my guys that if he had a Linux machine, he couldn't connect it to their Wi-Fi. So, this is probably the most prestigious school of all. What's it? NCSSM, I think it is. And so, this is, and by the way, this is a really, really cool school. And at the end of that story is he actually talked to them and talked to his teachers, and they were able to get Linux approved as an operating system in a school that focuses on physics and science. The fact that you have to talk through why Linux should be used at your science school, why do you care? Because that should alarm the shit out of everyone. The fact, I haven't been to a single school that had a credible IT department, right? Because they can't pay the money for it. They can't hold on to their teachers either, right? Because this actually happened. Rumor has it this happened in the area way before I got here. It was like something like 10 to 12 years ago. Rumor has it there was a really prominent school that had an really great AP computer science department, and the people who set up the AP computer science program learned Java, left for the banking and insurance industry down in Charlotte, and made 3 times as much money, and the whole AP science program collapsed. So there's no way so why do you care? All I'm trying to say is that the existing education system is fundamentally broken. It's not a thing that we can revise. It's not like we can add some software later to make it work. It's not like we can retrain the teachers. It's like the whole premise of it is broken. The entire premise of it is busted, because you have people that are responsible for being, the authorities and teaching this stuff, who don't even know what they're doing a lot of times because they haven't done it. And then you have, they're great people. The teachers that I met as I tried to become a teacher are some of the best people I've ever met on planet Earth. And it's not about that. It's about the system they're in. Their system is hopelessly, woefully broken, because if they can't pay for an IT person, because why? Because that IT person isn't going to work there. They can't compete with 150, 200,000 that IT person can get on the market working for a bank or someplace. So I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I'm not just complaining here, though. I'm just kind of stating an observation. This was in the news this week, so that's why I wanted to say it. For the record, I did try to teach at another school, Woodlawn, which is a great school, for a year. And the first month, I had to drop my entire curriculum and redo it because they didn't have internet that could do it. And that was when I discovered that building anything that depends on services like Replit, which is a really, really great service if you have internet, to go out here and practice coding. If you don't know about it, you should go check it out. You can add a new REPL and add like a Python REPL, Java, C++, or even have silly things. You can actually publish web pages for free using this, and they will stay up. You can import from GitHub. It's a phenomenal service, but it fundamentally depends on the internet. And if you don't have the internet, you're dead. And I'm not talking about just internet. I'm talking about good internet, because every keystroke goes to them and talks to a container. So again, the point, after realizing I couldn't do my curriculum using Replit, I had to regroup, and I had to teach everybody VS Code, and we had to do all the development locally, which ironically is exactly how developers learn to code. They learn to code locally because they're going to be, on a train or on a bus or in the airport or at a meeting, and they're not always going to have internet access. So developers who care about their jobs learn how to get shit done when they're not connected. It's just a part of being a good developer. And so if you teach people those development skills, from the beginning, and you create material that can be downloaded or printed off or whatever, or, one person with internet access, then their whole development model becomes the same that they would be doing as a professional. But that's not what's happening. What's happening is these services that cause people to be dependent on the internet to do any line of code continue to be adopted by huge school districts. And And then you have somebody who hacks their Wi-Fi, according to them, and the Wi-Fi goes down, and the whole entire curriculum and operation dies for a full week. So, there's some just really bad IT decision making going on, and I imagine it's because they just don't have the money to get the people to make the right decisions, and that's sad. I mean, it's sad because I wish we could help them, and I don't know how. So that's maybe why you should care too. I sincerely care about this. I am not complaining about this. I am trying to find a solution, and I don't have a solution. The best solution I can think of is reform the whole system and go to more of a mentoring kind of situation where you're having authorities, stream to like millions of people or whatever, and then have them talk about it or whatever. And then there's just one of many ideas. There's people that are playing around with all the different ideas. I think Montessori is onto something because it's all hands-on sort of education. It was probably just kids de-authing. Who knows? Yeah, they're just screwing around probably, right? So that's part. I believe that's a big news thing. It's a coffee talk thing, because we are talking about the renovation of education and particularly for computer skills. I think that the solution that's going to be pursued is everybody's going to buy bigger internet connections, and that might be the solution too, because America is like ridiculously behind the rest of the world in that regard. Anyway, so let's go back to the next topic. So that was Canon Middle. It's not particularly that it's Canon I'm throwing under the bus. It's just an example of a school that should know better, who has the money, who has a crappy IT department and can't keep their school running for a full week because that Wi-Fi went down. I mean, should they be ashamed? Probably. But the fact is that they are not unlike many, many other schools out there, including Woodlawn, which is another private school. So, I don't know what the answer is. I'm trying to think about answers. So if you guys think of answers, let me know. All right, so here we go. This one is a big deal. So Walgreens got hacked. All our stuff from Walgreens is out there on the net. So just another story of the prescriptions you've bought from Walgreens are now on the net. So, I at this point, I almost think you should just live your life as if nothing you do is private. And I hate saying that because I'm a massive privacy advocate, even though I'm streaming. But chances are any private information you have anywhere has already been hacked and revealed. Your entire credit score, every single credit history, every transaction you've ever done that mattered to the credit companies, already hacked. Every purchase you've made, Amazon stuff's been hacked. Your Discord chats, they've been hacked. It's just like, at this point, everything's been hacked. Let's see, where you live, M. It says, let me put this up here. 10-250 fiber and coax is considered normal. Yeah. This is why cash is king, right? It's untraceable. And what's funny? More people are doing that. More and more people are doing that. Yep. I wish I could do that. I can't. PayPal is now traceable, and that I wish I could get into the cryptocurrency thing, but it's flawed, big time flaws. So the 10 to 250 megabit fiber coax, yeah. So it's, I don't know. It'll help when the doctor faxes your prescriptions to Walgreens. Exactly. And then the hacker's like, ooh, they're getting OxyContin. I'm gonna go, pretend like I'm them, and I'm gonna go steal their OxyContin. Because why? OxyContin is a problem all by itself. There's all entire documentaries about OxyContin is the modern cocaine, and they just got authorized and given to everybody all over, and it created a massive epidemic all over America. It's just insane, man. The 1% is really fucking us up. I mean, they are. It was bound to happen. An awesome Jamstack list. So I've been talking about Jamstack for a while, and if your entire files are encrypted, your customer entire there's people that are pushing for a crypto medical information exchange, and they're calling it a self-sovereign identity. Have you heard about this? So the idea of self-sovereign identity is that you own your data and you release your data to everybody. But it's like the antithesis of how we do medical data right now in America. Right now in America, you don't know your medical history. You're not allowed to see it. I mean, can we just pause on that point for a second? I mean, that is so totally fucked up. every single note that the doctor, we have an antagonistic system between the medical system and the patients. The patients are not allowed to see their data. They're not, and I understand there's some, education reasons for doing that, but it just makes me crazy. It's like, I have Nightingale. No, what's that? What is that? It sounds super interesting if it's related to this kind of thing. But, so anyway, this is, less important stuff here, but so Jamstack is a thing, contrary to what some streamers think, and they're being trolled. It's actually a big thing. It's related to medical records. Oh, really? I am glad you're telling me about this. So thanks to the stream, we are now going to learn about Project Nightingale. Why am I just searching for Nightingale? Ugh. It's like searching for Jedi instead of Project Jedi. You know what that is? Machine learning. They are given access to Google to use for machine learning applications. Oh, really? Nightingale Housing. I doubt that's it. Project Nightingale. Google reveals. Are you? Oh, please no. Not another story from Google. Project Nightingale after being accused of secret. Oh, you. Why are you telling me this? Can I not just eat the steak and pretend that it's not real, or pretend that it's real? Don't tell me this. Oh, now I'm gonna cry. You've got to be fucking kidding me. Google secretly gathers millions of patients' records across 21 states on behalf of a healthcare provider in an effort dubbed Project Nightingale. Neither the provider's doctors nor patients were made aware of the effort, according to the report. I do find it extremely interesting and terribly disturbing. I mean, they were already asking everybody to do, what is it, 32andU? Is that it? What is it called? Let's give everybody our genetic sequence so we can make the movie Gattaca come true. You guys ever seen Gattaca? Do you know the movie Gattaca? Oh, I've got to bookmark that. It's like, I have to tweet this too. It's like, I really can't take another one of these. It's like, this just making me just so sad. It's like, really? That's my stepson playing a game. Google reveals. What does Google reveal? I mean, are we listening to what should we listen to? Coffee Life. Oh, that's nice. Can we just bask in a little bit of cluelessness for a while? Okay, back into the Matrix. Could be worse, We saw Outlander last night, and this guy was beating his family. Was chasing her to beat her some more, and he passed out from a stroke, and she tortured him rather than killing him for almost a year. It does smell good, doesn't it? Think about the happy. But at the end of the thing, they're like, we have to think about the happy, not the bad, not the evil. There's good in the world, people. There's good in the world. Let's find something happy to talk about. We're going to make a difference. We are going to make a difference. And yeah, I tell you what, let's do. Let's stop using Google. Can we please just stop using Google? I mean, I don't mean to shame people who are using it, but can you just please stop using them? There's no reason to use Google. You have to use a YouTube account, but guess what? You can use a Proton Mail to log into YouTube. You don't have to use Gmail. You don't have to search with Google. And you don't have to do Google alerts. And I'm going to commit to you right now that is the last dependency I have on Google, is all of these fancy, all of this news that comes in my inbox that is getting served up to me from Google. I'm going to get rid of it. I'm going to make an agent tool. If it doesn't already exist, I'm going to make an agent tool that I can subscribe to safely. That's going to tell me all the news it's going to find all of my sources of news out there, and it's not going to report them to Google. You know, because Duck isn't giving me what I want. Occasionally, Duck doesn't give you what you want. Yep. But I think that it's not always. I don't know. I mean, if so, you know what? If I miss a few bad things because I can't find them, at this point I'm fine. I mean, at least minimize your use of Google. Use DuckDuckGo first, and then go use Google. And by the way, Chromium is not Google. So if you're using something with Chromium in it, like Brave, they don't have control of Chromium. So, anyway, that was free YouTube for a while. FreeTube, yep, desktop app that allows you to watch YouTube videos and try and subscribe to people. Nice. I think development stopped probably. Well, the problem is that none of this stuff is ever going to reach mainstream, because mainstream people want, to click on a button and have it just work. Like, my TV has YouTube in it, and it has Google in it, and I don't log in with Google on it. But it's never going to go away, because mainstream people don't care. They just don't care. So, but you know what? You can care. It's like people who are vegetarian. I'm not vegetarian right now, but when people are vegetarian, they don't have to say everybody needs to be vegetarian. They're just going to say, I choose to not do this. What's my Android alternative? You're gonna laugh, Kip. That's my Android alternative. I have 5 smartphones in the cabinet back there, including the latest iPhone. Do I use them? Nope. So for now, best thing I ever did, by the way, I got a phone and I got off of my phone, and I forced everybody to communicate with me through email. One of the best things I've ever done. It has really increased the amount of time I get done with shit. I mean, when this thing was on all the time, when my smartphone was on all the time, I was constantly getting texted, and then it was like breaking up my flow. And so, like, when I do Twitter and things like that, it's dedicated. When I get on stream, it's dedicated. It's not like this constant interruption always happening on your smartphone and this massive urgency.